Today we are going to be rebuilding my home lab. Yeah, it's rather in need for this. Now this space is becoming up. So yeah, that's pretty much that. So it will be a while. I'm going to get started and I'll keep you guys posted on maybe some issues we run into. Now, as much as I would love to do a time lapse, I unfortunately can't show my face, or at least I don't want to show my face, so yeah, you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Alright, so now I'm going to reveal the room. I had recorded already, but I decided to go at it again because I was stuck rambling on some stuff. So here we have my new terminal space, which is running by the Dell Optiplex 3050 Micro. Now these things are not too bad, but you know, I keep cussing at it in one of the Dell videos, you know, where I worked on this thing and that turned out to be better. Yeah, basically I was cussing at it because it sucked for Minecraft server stuff, but it's also never intended to be ran in such manner, so you can't really blame it. But yeah, this is where I will basically do stuff like email answering. All this stuff will be done here. Of course, I had to do some slight modifications with the power bar. I couldn't put it inside of the closet, but what's inside the closet, we'll take a look at that very briefly. Now moving downwards here, that is where we find the ones, the only, well, machines which keep my whole infrastructure up. This one is not part of the infrastructure, it's just a PC that I use for AI. If I haven't stated that in a video before, it has an RTX 2080, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and Ryzen CPU, 3600 to be exact, 6 cores, 12 threads, and a massive, well, be quiet, I think it's called a Pure Rock or something along those lines. That cooler is pretty good. Keeps it nice and cool. Unfortunately, with my CPU, you know, in this thing, that is just like not possible to keep cool with that cooler. But anyways, moving on. This, my friends, is my DIY router, which right now is still in operation. Now, before you ask, why did you just say right now and still, I'll explain that in a minute here. But yeah, then we'll move into the center where everything tends to be kind of interconnected, which is my LAN center. Now, yeah, it's very tiny right now. I'll explain why in a minute. But this is basically the switch, which in my case is a unmanaged, and yeah, that has its fair share amount of issues. I will explain where I got it from in a minute, but then we move over. This, my friends, is my NAS. It's a Buffalo Link Station GL. It's a very old NAS. It has gigabit LAN. Doesn't copy with gigabit speed, so it's a little slower, but I guess that's just the internal, you know, SATA controller and it running on ARM, because it's in fact ARM and it has also a proprietary OS, which you can't change, but that's, as I said, that's totally fine for me, because all it does is it just basically stores some of my files, which I have 2 replicas of, 2 backups. But yeah, this thing has a total capacity of 2 terabytes, basically, that it can store before we run out of it, which is pretty good, because, you know, these video files tend to take up a bunch of storage. But yeah, so that is the NAS. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about why pretty briefly here. Why can I not hook up the router? Because this thing takes up a port, this thing takes up a port, my NAS takes a port, these 2 PCs take up a port, and this thing does. Now, why is that so problematic? Well, you see the switch is full, and I wanted to hook up one of the routers of mine as an access point for the network, which I can't do. Now, that's not that big of a deal, because you could say, you know, just remove the device, plug it into the router, and you know, you will be fine. I've thought about that, but if I'm going to deploy this, at scale with, the switch being a thing, a factor, and stuff like that, it's just not worth it. And you want to know the worst part about this switch? Well, it's unmanaged, meaning I can't even set stuff like DHCP, DNS. I can't set all that stuff, which is very stupid. So I just basically can't set this type of stuff, and that sucks. And even though I knew it was unmanaged when I got it from a friend of mine, which I also got the NAS from, now he didn't need this NAS anymore because he has two of these, or had two of these. This is one of them. Now the funny thing about this NAS was this one was just a empty, chassis. It had all its chassis parts. He didn't know where the chassis parts were. He put it together, but I don't know if I tore it down or he tore it down. I think he tore it down probably. But we had the front, the back, and things like that. This whole NAS was so dirty when I got it. I unfortunately have no pictures of it, but this thing was so dirty that I had to literally take this thing apart, wipe it down with a towel, put it back together, and that's basically how she stands right now. Yeah, she was dirty. But the guy I got this from, which is a very, very good friend of mine, I also got the Switch from. Now, if you ask, what did you have to trade to get an appliance like this? Well, it was one of the other routers I had, which later, I think, probably. He, in fact, also gave me another router later, but I'll talk about that in a minute here. But basically, to get the Switch and the NAS, that was our first trade we did after, the friendship went good for a long time. He went to come visit and things like that, and, everything has been good since. But that was the first trade we did. I traded the router, he gave me this 1 gigabit Switch and this NAS. He had this 1 gigabit just lying around. Basically, he didn't need it, and so he gave it to me. And I'm still very thankful to have it because, if I do decide I want to run something in the future where I need some ports, at least few ports, that's not a bad thing. So that's why I'm keeping that around. Oh, I ordered a Switch, in fact, and this is a proper data center, proper stream Switch for my, technically, home lab. Now you could say, you don't have that many devices to hook up to this stuff. I don't give a crap. That's rather funny. But this thing, in fact, has a FSP, I don't know what these are called, FSP Plus, I think. And those ports do all type of stuff. The Switch actually works. I tried it. Just that the power supply fan sounds like it's taking off. I could actually show this in a second here. But I've ordered a cable which we can use, and yes, it did have its rack rails. I did install those to see how the Switch would look, and I accidentally cut my finger on them, so I removed them for my own safety. Now we don't need to worry about this, being all weird, because I still kept them. They were just in a closet in the other room. But yeah, so let's, I guess, go ahead and turn it on. I have to wait for the adapter to show up anyway, so why not? Let's go. So that is how the Switch sounds. Right now, we are booting up. It's an EX3200 48T, because it has 48 ports. It's rather loud, or at least I think it is. Well, it's actually not too bad. I could actually talk like this if I talk close to the camera, but yeah. Network switch, my folks. It finally happened. Been meaning to do this for a while now. Meaning to get the enterprise switches for a while now. Now this OS is, I don't know, the Switch's OS is kind of corrupt. So I'm gonna try to update the OS, because I actually have that update file from Juniper because of the Wayback Archive, fortunately, so we can't update the Switch to its official latest hardware. in the hopes that I don't break the switch when I try to do this. Now, fortunately, the loader, if I were to accidentally break it or something, that should basically be fine. Now, usually the fans do go down once, you know, Switch's initials posting. Right now, we can still see it saying loading June OS, the Switch OS that it has. That takes a while, if it even does that this time. I have no idea, because sometimes it shows alarms. There she goes, yeah, you can see alarm light turned on. That's why I have to factory reset the Switch to basically the state that it's in, because right now it's always giving out alarms and it's not ideal. So what I'm gonna do is I will unplug the Switch and I'll put her back where she was. And I also have to get a PC over here, because in fact these two, or at least this one, doesn't have serial. This one I did recently put a different motherboard in there, because it's right now acting as the translation layer from there all the way over that cable up to there, where there's the old Switch, the old gigabit Switch, which is going to stay in service, or at least maybe as like a network splitter of some sort in the other room if I decide to keep this running, which I'll probably do. Now, something else which is weird before I turn her off is the alarm light only comes on when there's no management port plugged in. The second you plug in the management port, she doesn't give alarms, and the fans also don't ramp up. I don't know why exactly that is. That's why it makes me think that its OS might be corrupt. Now that's not uncommon, and it's not a hard thing to fix, because I have both ISOs, or at least both images. I've already made a USB flash drive, which in fact has that well, it's not an ISO, it's a TAR image, but we can only deploy this over serial, and I only have one PC that I can use to do that with, which is the Windows XP machine of mine with the modem inside of it. I have not made a video on that. Maybe it will be coming soon. If I go into, you know what, we can go into the status menu here. You can see everything she says is okay, so there's no real reason why it should be giving an error. This is the version she has. And yeah, we want to exit the menu. I'm gonna click that, and get this front panel thing. Allows you to do all types of stuff with this thing. The status menu is like everything's fine in there, which is what we want to see. Yeah, so here we have the PC we're going to be using. It in fact does have VGA, serial, you know, all those connections. Now this is in fact my XP machine, the one that I'm going to be making a video on soon, probably. It in fact has a dial-up modem, which does actually work. Alright, so now after a while, and yes, I still have to edit this video, but we finally got internet working. I had to go through and actually like do this with the cable. It took a couple days. This PC could now technically, you know, go away. I'm gonna shut it down. We'll just keep the Switch running for a while, and anything real additional we gotta do, like let's say, I don't know, something along the lines of, you know, configuring all these ports. I'm gonna go through and configure these all individually, because this is, as I said, 47 is in this case the router input. 46 is currently my PC, which has an uplink now, and speed test, or in general reply from online network service is good. You can see we have around about the uplink that we should be seeing, which kind of completes what I had planned. However, there's some minor things that I will kind of have to figure out, but as I said, if we really wanted to manage, you know, the Switch like fully native, we could definitely do that. And yeah, but this TP-Link switch is now almost no longer required unless I want to change something in the web UI, which now that I kind of know what I'm doing, I can also do that on the Switch directly, so I don't really need that. But yeah, so now we have uplinked to Google things. I'm gonna start from port 0 and move all the way up to 48, which is gonna be a little difficult, but as I said, it's a good switch after all, and you know, maybe one day we'll install these optical fiber modules, but there's no promises of that I'm gonna do it. But yeah, in fact now she is configured, and we have the full duplex, you know, the full speed of all these ports. They're all gigabit each, and that concludes this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, maybe comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!